Yeah, so we live in a time in history where we are faced with more challenges than some of us can remember in our entire lifetime. People like me, born in 1983 and younger than me, cannot remember a time with so much pain and challenge and death stalking our doorstep, both through things like the coronavirus, as well as through the fault lines emerging in our own lives, our marriages, our families, our friendships. It is a crazy, crazy time. And when I think about all the challenges we face, I think the greatest challenge we face is, in fact, in many ways, our own denial and self-delusion about the reality of ourselves. And if you're on social media, you are probably encountering people on a daily basis who think and feel and say things that you cannot believe they think, feel, and say. And within your own family and circle of friends, there are people that have chosen such a phenomenally toxic way of being and thinking and speaking and believing about themselves, about others, about God, about the world. And you just cannot fathom people being in such a rough spot. The truth is, I think that to one degree or another, we're all in that spot. And I think the hardest job that God has to do is not raising the dead or healing cancer or curing COVID. I think the hardest job that God has on his to-do list is softening the human heart. First and foremost, my own. I have found it helpful to pray along the lines of, God, I know I don't know what I'm getting into, and I know I don't totally know what's in here, and I don't know what facts and realities I'm pushing aside for the convenient alternative of some semblance of control or self-righteousness or self-gratification. But whatever it takes, God, break through to me. Get me. Because I want all of me to be all of yours, whatever it costs, whatever it takes, even though I know I have no idea what I'm even talking about. And I got this picture as I was praying for several of my friends who I think could use a reality check, as well as healing. And it's complex, and it's psychological and spiritual and physical and emotional. I prayed that the river of God, like the Spirit of God, would be like a river flowing under the rocks of hard hearts, down into the bedrock of their personalities, of who they are. And that's really what Jesus is like. He gets behind our defenses through connection. When we feel loved by him, it's like all our defenses go down. And I have heard God say the craziest things to me in the context of, him just loving me, him holding me, him being close to me, me seeing Jesus as this like tender, compassionate shepherd, and then embracing me, and then suddenly saying the most like gut punch, like honest, loving, hard, beautiful truth that suddenly I have the ability to receive. And I think if there's a miracle, if there are miracles out there, one of the great miracles of our existence on planet Earth is the miracle of the sudden transformation of the heart. It's incredible. And I think that happens when we experience God's love in new ways, where suddenly there are doors of possibility opened to us, where we can choose to see truth rather than to see lies. Suddenly, new neural pathways, new narratives open in our brain. And we're able to say, I've always thought this way, but I don't think I have to think that way. Have you ever been in a painful situation, and maybe with a friend or a family member, you just don't know what to do with those feelings, and you're like, I don't know what to do other than just spew these things at you because I feel them and I can't get rid of them, and I don't know what else to do, and I don't know how else to think, and I know I'm thinking toxic, but this is just how I've always thought, and I just can't get out of this pattern. And then suddenly, it's like when you're loved, a new door opens, and you're able to walk through this door of saying, I think I'm not going to be in denial today. And it's amazing, but it only works through love. And so that's why Jesus can be so gentle and so tender. And when people see him or people experience him, what they experience is kindness beyond anything they ever thought they deserved, gentleness beyond anything they thought was possible. And it's easy to think, Jesus, you're a sop. You're just kind of a wimp. You're just sitting here hugging me and telling me how much you love me and how much you know me, and you see past all the lies and you see the real me, and is this even you? Is this even effective? And then suddenly, in the context of kindness, repentance is possible, and coming out of denial is possible, and change is possible. And while I'm walking with several friends for whom it feels like change will never be possible, I'm also walking with friends for whom change has suddenly become possible. And it has been in the context of realizing their worth and their value to be loved by a God who just cares about them, who just tenderly deals with their weaknesses tenderly, considers their personality and wiring, knows what he's doing, is strong, powerful, capable, and sweet. And I am in love with the way he does that. I still lose patience with him, thinking, gosh, why don't you just knock people over the head with a truth bomb? And the reality is, he hasn't done that with me, except for when I am in a relationally connected state with him. Then he can say anything he wants, and he can get away with murder. And I will receive it, and I'll say, you know what, you're right. It's worth more for me to be connected and honest about myself than it is for me to be disconnected and dishonest about myself, even if that saves me some pain from facing truth. So I'm saying that because I feel such a loving desire for all of us to come out of the dark and into the light about who we really are and who he really is. Because if we see who he is, then seeing who we are isn't so scary. And we can see the good, bad, and the ugly when we see who he is. And not just who he is, but how he looks at us, how he thinks about us, how his eyes sparkle when he gets close to us. And in that place, I think there's new possibilities. So I just pray, if you're willing to receive this prayer, I pray that the sweetness of God trickles under the rock of any hard places in your heart and gets down to the bedrock, would soften it up and create good soil to receive the seed that God's planting. Because then the plant will grow and bear fruit instead of just growing on rocky soil. So I pray that for you, and I pray that for myself, that whatever we're believing, whatever we're thinking is wrong, that maybe we know is wrong, that God would not shame us for that, but that he would kindly soften us. And that we would take him up on his invitation to not walk in lies, but walk in his truth.